16,000 mentally challenged persons on the streets tonight. The public raises safety concerns about possible attacks after one of them stoned a 25-year-old man to death on the Circle interchange.
It's a big bus stop here. A madman has completely taken the place. He sees the place, he's sleeping there, does everything over there. You see, walking in the town and then be wounding people. They'll be chasing us here all the time.
Akonsomo Dam does not belong to the Krobo people. Energy Minister wades into issues affecting residents of Upper and Lower Manya Krobo who have been plunged into darkness for almost a week.
Take it. Akonsomo, Enya Krobo for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for on strike. Obasa said this year Akonsomo would share electricity.
Government is yet to receive the $750 million it got parliamentary approval for to secure from the Africa Exim Bank nearly 2 weeks ago.
No, we've gotten approval for that, and we expect within the next week or two to have that resource.
We'll hear from the Finance Minister, and ASAP opposes government's decision to engage Miscellaneous Company to run the Ameri power plant.
The decision to absolve Ameri of its responsibilities to put the plant at its original equipment manufacturing recommended state before the transfer is erroneous and sins against the terms of the boot agreement.
Hello again, thanks for choosing us. My name is Ernest Manu. Now, the public is raising safety concerns over possible attacks by mentally challenged persons who are left to roam the streets of Accra and other parts of the country. The concerns are coming on the heels of the stoning to death of a 25-year-old man by a mentally challenged woman in her mid-30s. But for the timely intervention of the Nima police, the suspect would have been lynched by a mob at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange on Monday afternoon. Kwabna Amwenin arrived in the capital city only 3 days ago. But family members here in Accra say they had no idea their son was in town.
He was in the village. He only came on Sunday. I got a call this afternoon to inform me about the death of my brother-in-law. The mentally ill woman was quite aggressive when she saw us. She actually licked the blood of the deceased and shouted, "Yes, I've killed him." So news of his death sent shockwaves down their spine. They were informed by other relatives in Brahman Kuntunase in the central region where he had come from. The news was all over social media.
I got the news around 3 p.m. When we came to the police station. He had died and the body has been taken to the mortuary. He had been given a form to fill.
Some eyewitnesses spoke to Adom News about circumstances leading to the death of the young man.
She was walking by the roadside and pelting every car that passes. Later, we saw the young man walking behind the mentally ill woman. We thought he wanted to disarm her from attacking the cars. Suddenly, we saw the woman had hit the young man with a stick and followed with a brick, hitting his head several times.
For others, whilst this is unfortunate, it was not surprising. The actions of the mentally challenged woman was pointing to something more tragic.
Wade the born, I'm one set or sat at a from. I know the Bubane Bono, from was a meeting. Yaniba who said the Banu Okuno. Then I can brush your by Okutamuba.
We saw her around and later discovered she was killing the young man. But we couldn't approach her because she was armed and could be violent. But when the police arrived at the scene, he captured the mentally challenged woman first and left the man who was bleeding on the floor. He was alive at the time. They spent 2 hours waiting for an ambulance. We even volunteered to take the body to the hospital, but the police refused. We could have saved him.
But not the home, first I call her body, nobody knew who said home. But you say, call her body in the.
Meanwhile, some eyewitnesses believe the deceased would have lived if the police had acted swiftly. For now, the mentally challenged woman remains in the custody of the police whilst the distraught family awaits further direction. Now, John News was at the scene today, and here's what the traders and workers there told my colleague Maxwell Agbaba.
The usual hustle and bustle was on here within the Circle enclave on Monday afternoon when the people who work here got wind of a bizarre incident that happened right here on this part of the Circle interchange. The life of a young man was snuffed out by a mentally challenged woman. Some of the people we've been speaking to here tell us that before that particular incident, they had lived harmoniously with people they consider as mentally challenged here within this enclave. They say that Monday's incident is a rude awakening that they are sitting very close and mingling with a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, he threatened to hit the car with stone by, I refer to support my car because of the way the woman is doing. I'm afraid. So I left the car and sacked the woman away from my car. By 30 minutes time, I hear said there's something happening around the rooftop. So I'm surprised. So nowadays we are afraid of mad women. We are afraid of any mad person around. We need our government to help us to keep all the mad people around the country, to check them well, because sometimes they are dangerous. They can use anything to hit us, because nowadays they are dangerous for us. You see, they are dangerous for us.
Samuel Mensah also works at this bus terminal here at Circle. He tells me that every dawn when they come to work, some of them are chased by mentally challenged people. He says some of these mentally challenged persons use the bus terminal as their home.
Mr. Big's bus stop here, a madman has completely taken the place. He sees the place, he's sleeping there, does everything over there, and no one can go there. If you go there right now, you see him there. A young man, you see, walking in the town and then be wounding people. They'll be chasing us here all the time. Yes, at the back of the toilet here.
Which people?
The mad people.
They've been chasing you around?
They chase us around if you come here early in the morning to work. Wow. So, you see, we want the government to at least go allow people to go to the town and be putting them at the psychiatric hospital. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, what happened yesterday, I'm very scared about that.
Well, we've been speaking to police here at the Nima District headquarters. We are told that the suspect was first brought here to the Nima police station. She was subsequently taken to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. So she was subsequently brought here to the Nima District headquarters, where police here provided shelter for her. We were told that she was sent to a court at Kaneshi earlier today. The court gave an order for her to be sent back to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. You're told investigators are currently working to make it possible for her to be kept at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital for some assessment. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbaba.
And we'll be doing some more analysis on this. We'll speak to Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, who is the president of the Psychiatric Association. There you have her on your screens. But Doc, just before we come to you, according to a report by the Mental Health Authority, there are about 16,000 persons with severe mental illness on our streets. Isaac Kofi is our in-house data analyst, and he has been doing some digging on this. Kofi, tell us more. Break down the figures for us. 16,000 is quite scary. I mean, given what happened yesterday.
Well, Ernest, beyond the 16,000 lies this staggering figure. 10% of Ghanaians have, different types of mental disorder, in mental disorder and other, mental health issues. Now, if you look at this 10% that we are talking about, there is also a bigger domain of 41% of Ghanaians having psychological distress. This is according to the WHO. This could be mild, moderate, or severe. 41% of Ghanaians having this type of mental issue. And just like you said, there are 16,000 persons suffering from, severe mental illnesses on our street. 16,000 of them on our street. And if we do the breakdown in terms of the cost to us as a country, we lose about 7% of our GDP as a result of mental illness. And this is about, $5.5 million. Now, if we estimate this in a span of 10 years, this could be around $55 million, dollars that we are losing as a country. So annually, we are losing $5.5 million, dollars as a result of mental illness in Ghana. Now, we also considered what we call mental health care delivery. What is the situation currently? We know we have, psychiatric hospitals being about 3 of them. We also have regional hospitals, 4 of them helping to deliver mental health care in Ghana. We also have teaching hospitals and district hospitals, all supporting the 3 psychiatric hospitals that we have currently in the country. Now, this is very shocking, Ernest. In terms of the number of psychiatrists that we have as a country, just 39 of them. And just the math that we did, the survey says we have 16,000 persons who are actually suffering from more severe mental illnesses on our street, and you have just 39, psychiatrists in the country. That's very, severe. And then you can't have, 10% of your population suffering from different forms of mental illness, whether severe or mild, and then you have 39 persons being your psychiatrist. Now, if you talk about psychologists, the number is quite higher than the 39, which is about 244 psychologists that we have as a country. Mental health social workers are about 362, and then you have the rest over there, mental health nurses being the highest, 2,463. And this is the least among them, which being the occupational therapists being 10% of, the workforce that you currently see on your screens.
Kofi, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Let's go on to Zoom now and speak to Dr. Ruth Oswenchi, who is president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana. Doc, I'm grateful for your time, but let me first take your reaction to this tragic story where we have a mentally challenged woman killing, essentially, a young man, 25 years old.
Ernest, this is a very, very sad situation. May I extend my sincere condolence to the family of the bereaved. This should never have happened. When the story broke, in fact, I did not hear about it until this evening when you called me about it. What saddened me is that this could have been prevented. I am sure many of the people who are around saw this woman, knew she was mentally challenged or was suffering from some untreated mental illness, and yet nobody bothered. I saw how swiftly the police came in and whisked her away. Why didn't this happen earlier? Why did we have to wait for a life to be lost first before she is taken away to get help? Although there are few psychiatrists in the country, Accra Psychiatric Hospital is only a stone throw away from Kwame Nkrumah Circle. This woman could have been taken there for treatment and for the appropriate support and help. And this should never happen.
You are right when you say that people saw her, and indeed they did say that they saw her earlier, and some of them were actually not surprised that this happened. But the security concerns being raised are legitimate, are they not? We see so many of these mentally ill people on our street. Up until the time government clears them off the street, what can we do to prevent a recurrence?
So there are several types of mental disorders. In fact, that kind of mental disorder that will cause the sufferer to attack an innocent person is usually in the minority. They probably are people who are suffering from what we call the psychosis. They hear voices and they have strange beliefs. Some of them hear voices that people around them want to attack them, people want to harm them. They believe that people around them want their downfall or want to even kill them. And so by a way or by means of self-defense, they would rather attack their perceived perpetrator or their perceived persecutor, and sometimes it ends in death. But there are things that we can all do to forestall some of these things. Corporate organizations can come together and take this person to the hospital and get help and get treatment as part of their social responsibilities. In fact, I know individuals who have seen people lying on the streets. They are mentally challenged, and they just give me a call. They say, please take this person into the hospital. I am prepared to bear every cost. It is about time that mental illness is enlisted fully on the National Health Insurance. As it stands now, mental disorders and treating mental disorders is supposed to be free, and the government is supposed to fully fund it. But we all know and understand that that fund is not fully done. That funding is not fully done. And so patients will have to buy their medications most of the time, because these free medications run out so often. Okay, and so if mental health is fully enlisted on the health insurance, this woman could be holding her own national health card and could have been taken into any hospital at all to be given free care under the National Health Insurance. But until we achieve that, until we get to that point, let us take it upon ourselves as benevolent individuals, as corporate institutions, to get some treatment for those who are mentally ill and are on our streets.
Doc, thank you very much for your time. That's Dr. Ruth Osu-Entry. She is the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana. Let's go to the authority that has the responsibility of dealing with mental health in the country. Kweku Brobe is the head of communications, the Mental Health Authority. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. So, when can we look forward to a time when our streets will be free of all these mentally ill persons? The WHO puts it at 16,000.
Ernest, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. I again want to add my voice, commiserate with the family, of this person who's lost his life as a result of, this crime, this violent action taken by a person who supposedly is mentally ill. So when are we looking to get these people off the street? I think, Ernest, time is past due getting people who have mental challenges, mental health illnesses off our street. All we need to do now is to commit enough resources. We need the commitment of government. We need the commitment of us all as a people, so that we all come together, commit enough resources into our mental health system. And we're looking at one that is sustainable. And of course, we have spoken about the mental health levy time and over again. Yeah. We need to do this to help provide some good amount of funds to help deal with this perennial problem of mentally ill persons roaming roaming the streets of our cities, and also help plan effectively, on the mental health service provision in the country. So, when are we looking at this is the time? Now we have, we have a case on our hand, and I think it is about time that we realize that we need to commit enough resources and get this situation off our country.
What is the challenge in having the mental health levy approved by Parliament?
Well, so the mental health levy, basically, what we have the legislative instrument, for the Mental Health Act. That has been passed by Parliament as of now. Okay. However, what we haven't had come through is the mental health levy. And the mental health levy should be a responsibility of the the finance minister. It is for the finance minister to determine where the levy is going to come from. We at the authority and other stakeholders have made, some suggestions to government, but you know that government is a bit hesitant when they have to put in when they have to determine where extra, taxes or levies onto the people, and that's how come, as at now, we still haven't not been able to determine a levy. But it is important that now, right away, we get to that, we find a levy, or the alternative, as Dr. Ruth Uzwentri said, and list mental health onto the
National Health
Insurance Scheme. And if we're able to do any of these immediately, we will be able to help address the situation. But I think the levy is key.
Mr. Ruby, thank you for your time. He speaks for the Mental Health Authority. Let's do some other stories now. The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has opposed government's decision to enter into a sole source agreement with Mytilenos Company to transport the Ameri power plant from Abuate in the western region to Kumasi. The energy think tank has advised government to back down on the deal and hand over the plant to the Volta River Authority as per the 2016 agreement. Michael Ashali has more in this report.
The Africa and Middle East Resource Investment Ameri Thermal Power Plant is a 10-unit batch with capacity to generate 25 megawatts each, totaling 250 megawatts. It was commissioned in 2016 during the country's energy crisis. In January 2022, the facility was handed over to the government of Ghana after the 5-year agreement ended. Government says it would relocate the plant to Kumasi to improve the reliability of power supply in middle and northern sections of the power grid and for export. In the meantime, the Energy Ministry is engaging Mytilenos to transport and also to operate the plant. Earlier, Ranking Member on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, John Jinapo, raised red flags over the deal.
The minority in Parliament has noted with grave concern attempts by government to transfer the Ameri power plant to Kumasi at a whopping $35 million. We find this strange, we find this incongruous, and we find this unfortunate. Not only are we alarmed by the astronomical price they intend spending.
The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is the latest to add its voice. For them, the new arrangement is not financially prudent. Here is policy lead on petroleum and conventional energy, Kojo Manu.
What was the basis for the Ministry of Energy relieving Ameri of its obligations under Section 26 of the Boot Agreement approved by Parliament, even before an independent condition assessment of the plant was conducted? 2, given that Mytilenos was not a party to the Boot Agreement, how was the company going to be held responsible for the transfer of commitments under Section 26 of the Boot Agreement? The decision to absolve Ameri of its responsibilities to put the plant at its original equipment manufacturing recommended state before the transfer is erroneous and sins against the terms of the Boot Agreement.
Let's do some more on this. Mensa Thompson is the Executive Director of ASEPA. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Thompson, thank you very much for joining us. So you're raising issues of propriety and, in fact, legal hurdles that you think must be crossed by the Energy Ministry or government before this deal can pull through, if at all we are to go ahead with it. What steps are you taking to have this redress? I know that in the past you have petitioned various bodies to seek, some redress to some of these issues of administrative processes. Are we going to see anything of the sort?
Well, I think you're confusing us with ACEP. Our issue had to do predominantly with the access to legal education, and so we did not speak to the relocation of the Ameri deal.
Very well. Mr. Thompson, I'm grateful for your time. Sorry about the hitch there. We'll return to you when we come to that story about the access to legal education in the country. That's Mensa Thompson. He is the Executive Director of ASEPA. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. Still to come, Akonsomo does not belong to the Krobo people. That's the Energy Minister as he wades into issues affecting residents of the Upper and Lower Manya Krobo who have been without light for almost a week now.
Take it. Akonsomo, any Krobo for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for on strike. Obasa said this year Akonsomo the wood.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. The Eastern Regional Security Council has asked utility provider ECG to provide essential public installations in the Yilo Krobo and Manya Krobo district with power to avert any looming security threat. The areas have been plunged into darkness since Wednesday, July 27, because ECG switched off feeder supplying power to communities in the two municipalities over illegal connections. According to the ECG, some of the residents are refusing to accept prepaid meters. The Energy Minister, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, says the people cannot enjoy electricity without paying. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, here's a report from the community when my colleague Manuel Cranton visited.
Pitch black darkness rules over the entire Krobo land. The sound of generators revs from a distance, distorting the night chirps by crickets. It's been 5 days since a military-backed task force of the ECG disconnected the entire Sumanya township from the national grid over a pushback against the installation of prepaid electricity meters. The impact, wide and crippling to everything that keeps the town alive. It's a school night, but outside many houses, school-going children sit idle. Some of them even with exams at stake.
SHS3.
SHS3. You're supposed to be writing WASI.
Yeah, we started with our practicals today, so yeah, we are on it.
So you're writing WASI as you're sitting here? And without lights?
Yeah, we are coping. There's nothing we can do, so because there are no lights, we can't study hard as we are supposed to.
Home is very well. Without lights, there's nothing we are doing. We are just roaming in the night and then things. So if there were to be light by this time, we'll be learning.
They say they are forced to fall on lamps and other light sources for their personal studies.
But the light of, I used to read my book. And I go to school to learn.
We sometimes use torchlight and sometimes when our phones are on, we use our phones.
Manuel Cranting, Joy News, Somanya.
Now, in the area of health, the Yilo Krobo Health Director, Irina Ofer, says the cost of running hospitals on generators is draining their coffers. The Eastern Regional Minister, Sethi Champon, on Tuesday met with officials of the ECG, the chiefs of the area, with the Energy Minister in attendance. He tells Joy News the community folks must show remorse for their actions. On Asempa FM today, the Energy Minister, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, said Akonsombo does not belong to the Krobo people.
Tabu bia ni obetumi de esi de bo se ontua kanea. Se isi for ba kanea na eliko for ba kanea na ka so ontua kanea ka. Se ne hia so ba kanea. Ontua ontua kanea ka no. On se fata se ba kanea.
Let me state that no one in this country can say they won't pay electricity bills. If you don't pay the bills, then you don't deserve the service. Akosombo does not belong to the Krobo people. It belongs to the Akwemus. Even the people whose land was used to build Akosombo Dam are not on strike.
Take it. Akosombo, and your Krobo for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for there. Akomufi for on strike. Obasa said this year Akosombo would share electricity.
Oh, okay.
80 claim is 50 years after Akosombo or Munchia.
Some people are claiming that Kwame Nkrumah said 50 years after Akosombo Dam was built, they shouldn't pay for electricity. That claim is illegitimate. But I've met with the chiefs of the area. It went well. I have asked them to meet with ECG officials and reach an agreement.
ECG for him for the trust. No more starting to try them more. A bit of my ECG for. I continue the prepayment bit at Abo.
Okay.
Na Canadian Sumbeso. That of what I say, a Canada, you become once a
Canada, on postpaid meters.
Postpaid.
It is here the directive is ECG to roll out prepaid now across the enclave.
The enclave.
But we will continue to deploy the prepaid meters. Whatever they owe on their postpaid meters will be dealt with later. But if there's an agreement, then we can put on the light.
Government is here to receive the $750 million it got parliamentary approval to secure from the Africa Exim Bank nearly 2 weeks ago. Following heated arguments in Parliament, the facility, which was part of a $1 billion possible disbursement set to be key to financing critical projects, received the blessing of the legislative body. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, tells the host of Hard Truth on the Joy News channel, Nana Kunedu, that the nation expects to receive the funds within a maximum of 2 weeks.
Towards that, we need to continue to pursue other sources.
Well, you're looking to the IMF, and you talked about AFISM just now.
Yeah.
You loan to address our balance of payment issues in the short term.
Right.
But it's been argued that there's not, or in the short term, or this is going to be short-term fixes. But from your projections, what should we expect, or how do we secure these funds?
Well, I mean, the issue really is we have gone to the IMF, that's true, and therefore
but it will take a long time to get these monies.
Well, it's 6
together
months.
With Africa.
The reasons for going to the IMF, one, is that we wanted to get back access to international capital markets and also work with friendly sovereign countries who would be interested in supporting various papers that we will be able to issue. So given that we've gone to the fund, that opens the way for that type of negotiation and a sense of calmness to investors that we may be able to return
so you
to
said
the
it's going to take 6 months. AFRIXIM, I'm not sure you even started the conversation. You started the conversation right now on 10 papers, so it's going to take some months to actually, get that money. So in the short term, in the interim,
for that, and we
right.
expect within the next week or two to have that resource, and then continuing now of a lot more vim and vigor, given the relationship that we have with IMF, to be able to now convince other sources of financing for that.
Mr. Ofori-Atta, who has come under intense criticism for his management of the economy, insists the current crisis, which necessitated seeking assistance from the IMF, will be resolved.
I think really there's reason for disappointment, but I think it should really be put on the backdrop of where we are in the global economy. The question then is, would Akufo-Addo's government be able to lead us through this? And I'm confident that we will, because we did meet an IMF program in which we exited correctly. And this one too, we are going to confront it head on and be able to do that. So let's have faith, let's dig into our resilience as a people, and we would also guide the way forward.
Let's do some other stories now. Some schools across the country are beginning to receive copies of textbooks for the new curriculum for pre-tertiary schools 3 years since it was introduced. Printers, including Appointed Time Printing Limited, has assured Parliament's Education Committee it will meet an August deadline to print all books and distribute them. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante was with the committee when they visited the printer, and here's his report.
For more than 3 years since government introduced a new curriculum for pre-tertiary schools, textbooks are now set to be available in all these schools, with some now getting their first copies. Within this period, schools have had to improvise and teach students without textbooks. Some local printers contracted by government to print these textbooks say they are well within time to meet their schedule. Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, says although this development is coming late, they are satisfied with the work that has been done so far. He spoke to Joy News when members of the Education Committee toured Appointed Time Printing Limited, one of the printing houses working on the textbooks.
Well, there is a saying that better late than never. I would have wished that these processes would have been completed maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but be as it may, that didn't happen. But from what we've seen so far, I think that it is impressive. And I am particularly happy because we are using local printing houses. Received is that some of them have already been moved to the various destinations, and we expect that they will be in the classrooms as soon as possible. So, all in all, better late than never. Well, as an academic myself, I think that the quality is good.
Chairman of the committee, Kwabena Mankwai-Siama, urged government to meet its obligations to the printers to ensure that they are able to deliver on time.
It takes some time. Government will have to find money and government will have to print. Finding money is not an easy job, especially in a period like this. We talk about the COVID intervention and what Ukraine is doing as it stands now. Economy is not in the best of shapes. So you can pardon government for that. And this is not the first time that publishing has delayed. Every year or every changeover, it delays.
Meanwhile, Managing Director of Appointed Time Printing Limited, Jacqueline Affo, has assured the committee they will finish printing the books even before the given deadline.
I expected completion time. We are looking at 21st August to complete the books and deliver as well. So that's what we are looking at. 21st August is our deadline. So that's what we are hoping to do. Yeah.
When you spoke to the committee early on, you said that some of the books had already been dispatched.
Yes. About 600,000 have gone to the schools.
For 3 years now, primary schools in particular have not had textbooks based on the new curriculum that was introduced by government. These books are now getting to the schools, and the appointed time have been telling us that about 600,000 copies of science textbooks in particular have been dispatched to the schools. They are expecting to do the additional 200,000 books that they are supposed to print by the end of August and dispatch them. Now that these books are going, the minority and the majority on the committee are both expressing satisfaction with the kind of work that has been done by this particular printer, and they're expecting that these deadlines will be met and government will also meet its obligations to these printers. This news will come as a relief for activists and parents who expressed concerns about the delay in printing these books. For Joy News, Kweku Asante, Accra.
Let's now turn our attention to housing. From choosing outside wall lights for the bedroom to fixing very dim lights for the kitchen, there are very common mistakes that people make when selecting lights for their homes. Sales and marketing executive of Ghana's premier lighting company, Global Light, Nicholas Sowate, says the household appliances, like all household appliances, there are specific lights designed for every part of the home. He spoke to us ahead of the second mini clinic of the EcoBank Johnny's Habitat Fair, which is happening this Friday to Sunday at the West Hills Mall.
Just sell lights. We also advise on the type of light to use for your buildings or for your projects.
Okay.
Now with Global Lighting Center, when you invite us, aside when we sell the light to you, come to your place, we look at the structure and we talk to the house owner, the type of light he wants before we make a suggestion. So for instance, if you have a nice building, probably this structures kind of a building, we look at the ceiling, type of ceiling that you have, then we know whether to give you a raised type of light or a surface mounted type of light. The way the ceiling is designed can tell whether you should go for the strip lights or you should go for the spotlights.
Okay.
Because lights, trust you me, has a way of beautifying the house. It's not just the building. It is the light that makes the building looks unique, and that is what Global Lighting we offer.
Okay.
And our lights are also on quality. We can give you warranty on it. So when you buy from us, you know we are giving you value for your money.
Wow. So it depends on the house.
It depends on the house. And we look at what the customer wants, then we can suggest the best solution or the best lighting for the house. So that when you look at the house, when you invite anybody to the house, look at the lights, they are like, wow. That can be a recommendation to Global Lighting.
Interesting. And can you show us some of the lights?
Okay, so now, let's start from here. Here we have an outside light.
Okay, so these are all outside
You
lights.
don't just put any lights outside your building.
Okay.
There are some lights when you are buying, you look at the IP level. The IP on the lights tells you the quality or the strength of the lights, whether they can stand the outside weather. And it's not every light you can put outside.
Okay.
So when you come to global lighting and you want lights for outside, or you see a particular light and you want, you look at the IP, then we tell you that these particular ones here are good for outside. Then from this side going, they are not good for the outside weather. So when you are choosing the light for inside the house, then we bring you to this side of the house.
Okay.
When the such lights means you can't cut the ceiling. If you want it to be mounted on your ceiling, then we give you this type of lights. Then with the color index, we have the white and the warm.
Okay.
The white is good for reading. The white is good for, it's more like a broad daylight. So when you are doing activities in the house, you need the white light. But for the bedroom, for the sitting room, if you don't want too much light in the room, then you go for
something dim like
something
this.
Dim, and it makes the room very cozy, and it doesn't produce so much heat.
Okay.
LED is always the best option as compared to the fluorescent bulb, the CFL bulb.
Okay. So this one more for studies.
Come again.
This one more for studies in the room.
Yeah, this is good for studies.
This one more for
this one. This one is good for.
This one is bright, so more for reading,
for the kitchen, for the study room.
Okay.
Yeah,
and this one more for the bedroom.
Because when you are going to sleep, you need your body to relax.
Yeah.
And that is where the warm light comes in.
Okay.
Yeah. If you use the white light in your bedroom, wake up very tired because your body will read the room as the normal daytime, and the body will not get enough rest you want. So it's better to use the warm for your bedroom. With the color index, you have from the 1000K to the 10,000K. It goes, that is get blue kind of light, the green kind of light, the yellow kind of light. That is the Kelvin goes higher. But from 1,000 to 4,000, you get the warm color like I showed you. This one gives you 4,000. So this one range between the 3. Then when you go from the 5,000 upward, you are going into the white. Okay. That is where the white comes in. So the white ends at 6,500. Okay. Then from 7,000 going up, you are getting into the blue bulb, the white bulb. So like the romantic, it depends on the room. The room. Some people prefer to use the strip lights, the hidden lights, the blue color for the room. They put all lights off. Then you only see the rope light in the room. You will not see the lights, but you will see the effects in the room, and that alone makes the room very cozy.